Jeremy Knight.
Hi. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, nice to meet you too. It's cool that you came. Not a lot of people will just come, especially if they don't know someone.
Yeah, right.
Most of the time we have people that we know, but a couple people told me to check out your channel, and I did, and I loved it, man. So I appreciate you coming.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.
Show's really easygoing, pretty much open conversation. We try to provide value for entrepreneurs. We somehow got the name The Real Estate Podcast.
Oh, okay. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, so we got lucky on that one.
Nice.
And just trying to have a lot of fun with it, add value. I grew up in Round Rock. I've been in the business since I was 17. And we've got construction, management, brokerage. So pretty entrepreneurial.
Nice.
But would love to, if you're cool with it, to jump into your background as much as you want to, as far as like where you're from, you know, what your path looked like to get to where you're today.
Sure.
And go from there.
Cool. Yeah. So I moved to Austin about 9 years ago. I've been in real estate now here in Austin about 7 years. We moved specifically to come here for real estate.
Really?
We lived in San Diego at the time, and I was starting a real estate brokerage there. Just saw the writing on the wall in California and figured my wife's from El Paso, so we wanted to move somewhere and be in Texas. And so we did the whole gamut and looked at everywhere to live in Texas and the markets and where the best market to sell real estate in the future would be. And it came down to Dallas and here. On my channel, my YouTube channel, I make fun of Houston quite a bit. So that's partly why.
I do. I say Houston sucks.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
and I love Texas. It's fun to, talk mess, but you probably feel the same way, but Austin's just such a cool area. It's where it's at.
Yeah. I mean, after living here for a while and then, we have family in all, the major cities. So going and seeing the other cities, it's always nice to come home. So we started real estate about 7 years ago.
Real quick, I want to ask you, you said you were looking at multiple markets.
Sure.
What was that process like for you? Were you actually looking at like real estate stats? Were you going in person to these cities? What did that look like?
Well, yeah, I mean, I was doing a lot of online, just kind of searching. I was looking at where the markets were going, the market trends, and this is around 2012. So, we were looking heavily at where would be the best place to sell real estate in the future, where the prices were, where the growth trends were. So we looked at a lot of different things. So I could kind of say we were ahead of the curve because a lot of people are moving here for those same reasons now, just to the industries we have here. So I guess I was a little bit ahead of the curve. I've been ahead of the curve on a few things. So
nice. What are you talking about? Like different businesses or? Yeah,
I mean, just in general, just investing in certain areas and things. We've done pretty well with that. Just kind of seeing where the trends are going and following those lines. My degree was in geography, so I look at everything in more of a spatial context, and so where can things go spatially? And so that's kind of what made me really look, learning what areas were going to potentially be on trend, and so that's where we've been. That's cool, how we live in Austin. Yeah.
So I can't remember. I got my master's degree in real estate, nice. And there was a couple things we were studying. And maybe you know about this concentric ring, something like that. Like, and my takeaway was like how cities grow in these rings.
In rings, right?
And Austin kind of bucks that trend in a lot of ways,
right?
So it is interesting because you can kind of at least my perception is that the circle didn't close off because in Westlake, like West Austin, because of the money and the landscape. Yeah. And so now you're like, where is the growth going to go? And my perception is everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I don't know how you think about that.
Well, yeah. And if you think about it, years ago, Westlake was seen kind of as, for lack of better words, where all the hillbillies lived. And so, and now, I mean, you can't buy a property in there in less than, a shack for $1.5 million. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of interesting what's happened to Westlake and the progression of Westlake. But yeah, you're right. So most major city components, the rich people live right in the middle of the city. And as you work your way out, and this is where if you look at cities like Rio and big like cities, everything's more centrally located and then moves its way out.
Interesting. Interesting. So with that in mind, were you always I I guess what's the balance of you being a real estate professional versus an investor? And for your investments, are you trying to predict and buy properties where you think that growth is going? Is that kind of the mindset you have?
Yeah. I mean, so we, my wife and I, our goal is to buy 2 investment properties a year.
Nice.
And so we're on trend with that. In fact, we just bought a investment property in South Padre because we looked at, nobody's traveling right now, and probably for the next few years, people aren't going to be traveling as much as they used to. So they're going to drive to destinations. So we looked at that, and that's partly why we purchased a kind of a beach condo in South Padre.
And do some Airbnb.
Yeah, I do Airbnb, and it's really hard, as you know, to Airbnb anything in Austin right now. Especially if you live in an HOA, you can't Airbnb anything. So, right. So I like to look at the trends. There's some good people that'll put out, what the price trends are for, what percent increase certain areas are in. I don't really like those as much as looking at it from an investment standpoint, because you're seeing where it's already been, right? And so you got to kind of take into consideration where it's going to go, right? I know where something's been. So if you look at an area that's seen a 3 or 4% growth, but then you've seen an area with a 9% growth, well, how much further? You can buy something now, but it's going to continue to grow that 9%. Whereas you're looking at an area that might be a 4% growth, and the availability to build more properties there. And what does the schools look like? What are the trends in that area? You might want to buy in the 4% growth, because next year it could be 6 to 8%.
Right. Yeah. Totally agree, man. Totally agree.
Yeah.
And this might be hard to answer, but we were just talking to someone, and one of our buddies was here, and he's like, I can't figure anywhere out where people are talking about like theory of real estate and people that have gotten to a certain point and what they've learned. So if that maybe makes sense, like how you view an investment property and what your theory is on, acquiring properties. It kind of seems like you have this ability and knack for trying to stay ahead of things, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
So that's probably one of those things.
Yeah.
But just in general on like what you're going to pay, appreciation versus cash flow. Can you kind of dive into, how you view all those things, if that makes sense?
Yeah. So I talk about this a lot on my channel as well. Really the tax portion of that. I think that's the one thing that we have a hard time controlling. You can control a lot of things when you buy an investment property, right? You can forecast where your rents are going to go. You can forecast a lot of things, but it's hard to forecast where the taxes are going to go. So that's something we really look at when we do that. As far as like my growth in investing, I like to look at really where businesses are going, because that's a good trend. If more businesses are moving into an area that weren't there in the past, we can kind of dictate, what property values are going to increase. And really, when I'm looking at anything with an investor, we're looking at, you can look at cap rates and all those things, but if somebody's paying the note on that and you're making a little money on top of that, and more businesses are coming in, your property value is going to go up. So we look at more of the long term, what the equity in the property is going to be in a 5-10 year sale period.
Cool. I do as well, and I think for me, I've been forced that way because of this market.
Yeah.
I'm kind of curious, like, what is your business breakdown of investors versus, homeowner, sellers, and buyers? Is it 50-50 or
I would
ballpark?
Say, so we probably do 30% investors, 70% homeowners, or purchasers.
30
so I'd say 30% of our buyer clientele is investors. The other 70% is people who are buying as a home. But even on my channel, I tell people that when you're purchasing a home, you have the buyer hat on, but you never want to purchase a property just with solely the buyer hat on. You're buying as an investment. It's the same thing as if you're buying any stock or anything, but you're buying something physical. So you have to look at, am I overpaying, number one, and in this market, which is incredibly on fire, I always tell people, look at the trends for that area. Are the trends going to continue? Can we look at maybe where the trends are going? Because yes, you are buying this, but the one thing you don't want to buy is a home in a really high tax rate, and now you can no longer live in that home. and then you have a hard time selling that home, especially if you buy a home in a new construction with a high property tax, and now you're fighting the builder when you do have to sell your home.
Right.
So that was kind of a bad investment. So that's why I always try to tell our clients, even though they're just straight buyers, to put on your investor hat. And look at these taxes, look at the breakdowns, look at what your potential property value is, or your property growth is going to be, because the reality is that your job as a homeowner is to sell this home in 5 to 6 years, right? The progression where people make long-term wealth is they make money on equity on homes, they sell it, and then they go out and they buy their new home, and then they make equity on that, and they move up, and then they probably buy the third home there in their long-term home, and then they sell that, and that's their retirement. Yep. So that's what I try to tell anyone, even though you're just buying a home, is that look at it as an investment.
That's great. I love that. I definitely think the same way, and the takeaway for me is like, although it may be an investor versus a retail buyer, it's all an investment. If you are thinking about it the way I think that you should, because that's what you get all these benefits from real estate.
Right.
And it's always long term.
Right.
So stepping back a little bit, back to your story, you moved here from San Diego.
Right.
And you said you were already in real estate in San Diego?
Yeah, I actually just had got my broker's license in San Diego. I was starting the process, getting everything going, and I just started looking around going, well, at that time they were raising income taxes, so I think 13% or whatever it was. And I started actually diving into what the cost. I think that's what problem most real estate agents have is they look at, I'm going to start selling homes and I'm going to make all this money, and then they don't put on their business hat. And so I looked at it from a business standpoint, and I looked at what the taxes were going to be, what I was going to be paying, what I was going to pay for my, my budget. And I was like, wow, I'm going to be struggling. Even though I might sell $1 million homes, I'm going to be struggling. Whereas I looked at, Texas, obviously no income tax, property taxes are higher, but you can mitigate that by finding a place with a lower property tax. So, and just overall business expenses were cheaper. So even though I might not be selling as many $1 million homes as I would be in San Diego, business wise, I'd have a little bit clearer head where I wasn't so stressed constantly about finances. And
then when you moved here, what was that process? You start working at a brokerage and you had no context, or you tapping into California investors? What did that look like for you?
Yeah, so I started doing what most real estate agents should do, which is cold call. I think a lot of people are afraid to pick up a phone. So
we got a construction crew next door.
I started just calling sellers, finding phone numbers, calling sellers, like trying to get, listings to sell, and kind of learning more about what the process for investing was. And it really wasn't until like my third year where I started really working with more investors and getting more investor heavy. We've sold, some properties to developers that will flip and do, an AB unit on the east side, or we'll buy a lot and do, a 3 or 4-plex on it. So we've done stuff like that. A lot of my investors that I work with, we're looking for raw land as well, to develop on. I would say half of of the 30% of our clients, I'd say 10% are really looking for that land. We just did a $900,000 lot in 78704 that they're going to be doing 4 units on.
Nice.
And so the other 20%, or the other of the 20%, would be people looking just for buy and holds.
What do you see? I'll tell you what I see, and then I'll see what you see. Like typical investment properties here, and I'm saying agent just gets on the MLS and starts finding what's available there. Yeah. Because obviously when it's not on the MLS and you're negotiating all stuff, you can get much better deals. Yeah. But I would say, and I'd love to hear what you say, like if it was let's say $240,000 house, people are buying that, it's going to rent for $1,700, and that to me is like straight appreciation play, which is not right or wrong one way or another, because most likely it is going up a lot. And if it's like a $400,000 house, it's $2,500 in rent, something like that. And then the ones that Alex, my partner, and I are doing are maybe $170, and we're leasing them for $1,600, and we're putting a little work into them. Is that kind of how you're viewing in rent, like single family rentals, like those basic numbers? Yeah, and what you're seeing?
I would say we have a good mix of people that are doing those type of things. I have some clients that were trying to do flips. And I actually convinced them to up their price point and start buying in the 5 to 7 range and flipping those in different areas, because really the margins were going to be better.
I've thought about, there's less competition.
There's less competition.
Bit more risky.
Yeah, it's a little more risky. I mean, especially if you're trying to do hard money, I mean, that's going to cost more. But the margins end up being a little bit better because everybody wants to buy under 300 in Austin right now. I have probably 25 investors from California that are hounding me because I did a video about Tesla moving here. They want to buy on the east side. I think there's definitely better alternatives right now, buying other places in the east side that would be a better fit for people. You know, they just hear Tesla and they're looking at depreciation there. I try to warn people that there's no infrastructure over there on the east side where they're looking, like Austin colonies. There's like there's nothing over there. Mm-hmm. So it's going to take a long time before you start seeing, HEBs being built out there. It's going to be, unless you're buying in Maine or Pflugerville or something like that.
That's a good point. And we've kind of gravitated. So I spent like 7 years buying 2, 3, 4 properties a year. And then I really started focusing on small commercial, like warehouse projects, apartments. Nice. So now we're kind of, I'd say like 18 to 30 unit apartments that we're buying, maybe wholesaling, bringing on partners, where the cash flow can be a little bit better there. Right. But it's interesting because you're right. You could go buy in East Austin, but it's a lot of older, rundown houses.
Yeah, foundation issues.
Yeah. So, and I'm sure you agree with this. I keep telling everyone we're in Opportunity City. It's everywhere.
Everywhere. Right.
Georgetown, Spicewood, Pflugerville, Hutto, wherever.
Yeah.
And one thing that I thought was cool from your channel was that you seem to have a pretty good understanding of the specific neighborhoods. Right. Like all these little communities, which there's a ton of them. Right. And is that something that you've put a huge focus on, is like, Colony Hills or Serene Hills, whatever it is. Yeah. Really understanding what those are. Is that a big part of your business?
Yeah, I would say that's, thank you. So how that started, where I was really focusing on neighborhood specific, is I did a video talking about the lowest tax rates, because I always want to buy in a property in a low tax rate. And how that happened is I had a client who I warned them they were buying a property at a 2.92 tax rate. It was a newer build community. And I kind of warned them, like, hey, that's pretty high property tax, and you don't know what it's going to be next year, because when you're buying a new build, those property taxes aren't set. The rate's set, but not the taxes. So they arbitrarily give you a number. Okay, you might have bought a $300,000 home at 2.29 tax rate, but you don't really know what the tax dollar is going to be. And then it was like, oh wow, I'm paying $12,000 for property taxes because they said my house is worth $350,000, right, instead of what I paid for it. So they end up, after 2 years, had to sell their home, and they almost hit foreclosure because they couldn't afford the taxes and everything. And so that's kind of why I started really paying attention to neighborhoods, is the tax rate. So that's where my channel's really kind of taken off, is that I've talked about specific tax rates and specific neighborhoods, what the amenities are. Because everybody wants to buy. I mean, if you're a regular homeowner, right? Some people want either... most people don't understand why there's not more pools in Austin, and a lot of it's the cost of a pool in Austin is much higher than if you were to build it somewhere else. But they want specific things in the community. So how do you manage that, where you find a nice tax rate that goes with, so your taxes aren't out of control, and you're gaining value in your home, and you also have like a pool and great stuff like that. So that's where we started focusing on those things.
Yeah, that's a big, as you know, big value add for clients.
Yeah.
Man, so have you kind of like taking a step back with everything happening with COVID? Is that what has that done to your business? And also, is a lot of your business coming through your channel?
Yeah. So I've had a YouTube channel for like 4 years. I was doing videos just to sell listings, right? If I found a listing or I found something, I would do a video on it. And my channel wasn't really doing anything. And then so somebody said something to me one time that there was no good videos on YouTube about learning about Austin, like when they were moving there. I mean, you can find somebody talking about all good barbecue places are. When I came to real estate, there wasn't any channels. There was a couple out there, but they didn't really give too much information about Austin. So in December, I started changing my channel over to really focusing on what Austin is from a real estate standpoint, what to expect when you move here and things like that, what neighborhoods you should look at, what things to be aware of. And so that's where things started changing. Then COVID hit. Sorry, I just demonetized your YouTube channel right there. You can't say that word on YouTube.
Oh, really?
No, I would bleep that out.
Okay.
Yeah.
No idea, man.
Yeah,
You're on another level. We've got
you don't get money when you say those words.
What?
Yeah.
What's the whatever?
YouTube demonetizes for saying the word. So I always say pandemic. Yeah,
Okay.
pandemic. You can say pandemic, not the other one. So when the pandemic hit in March, a lot of people didn't think the real estate market was coming back, right? They thought it was going to crash. Like everybody was just, so I sat back and I looked and I said, well, I can talk about what's going on. And that did okay. But why don't I continue to talk about neighborhoods? Why don't I continue to talk about places to live? Because at some point, it may not be today on YouTube, but 6 months from now, somebody might have interest in that. So I started just cranking out for 3 weeks. I mean, nobody was doing anything really for 3 weeks. I put out like 10 videos and I sporadically put them out. I probably get 10 calls a day now from people, either calls, emails, or straight into my website calling me from YouTube.
That's amazing, man.
Yeah. So we went from doing probably about 15 million a year. We'll probably right by December 30 to 35 million, depending on.
Nice, man. Congrats. I know it's a lot of work. We had a YouTube channel for 5 years and taking a little different approach. Haven't seen the success, but it's something that we have fun with and enjoy.
Yeah.
I think we have like almost 600 subscribers, and it's fun though. And we take it, we'll go on there and talk about construction or management, but I think the specific neighborhood's a great idea.
Yeah.
Where do you see going with that channel? Just keep doing what you're doing, keep building it.
Yeah, I mean, I have kind of 4 different pillars of content that I try to keep in. So moving to Austin, moving to Texas, neighborhoods and suburbs. So I try to keep to those 4 pillars of content. I do a lot of different interview styles, things there. I do live streams now where I'll bring on agents from all over Austin and get their perspective.
Nice.
What's kind of crazy is like at first when I did that, people were like, why would you bring on another agent in Austin? Aren't they your competition? The reality is that if I'm bringing somebody on my channel, I want them to be a good quality agent. Because you don't have to work with me, but if you're going to work with somebody, I'd rather you make sure you're working with somebody as good.
Yeah.
And so that's why we started doing that, and that has been successful with our channel.
I agree.
Too.
I mean, we're doing the same thing. We had you're an agent, I'm an agent.
Yeah.
We don't primarily focus on brokerage. So we have a brokerage, we have agents that do, but I don't really look at anything or anybody as competition.
Right.
Right or wrong.
There's so much business in this.
Yeah. And it's also, as you know, the real estate business is a big part of relationships and playing the long game. And
for sure,
even just getting to meet you a little bit here could be valuable. Even if you take some of our viewers and they work with you, I don't care. And to me, that's worrying about the small stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Got it.
So I guess moving forward, you're trying to buy a couple properties per year.
Yeah.
Looking all over the country, I would assume. Or?
No, we're staying Austin specific. If you're looking at the market, right, and where the market's going, obviously, we just had an election, so people usually, this year's been an interesting year. Obviously, we've had a pandemic and an election all in 1 year. So really, I've been very hawkish on what the market's going to do here and nationally. A lot of people are 32% of homeowners are struggling to make their mortgage payments. So nationally, we're going to see maybe some opportunity, not for the right reasons, but we might see some opportunity. I don't think that same opportunity is going to hit Austin. I don't see our market, even if we saw 20% more inventory pop, it's going to get purchased. I mean, there's so many investors in the pool. There's so many buyers in the pool. There's a lot of people waiting in the pool waiting for a ring to grab.
Right.
And so I just don't see that happening in Austin. So yeah, I'm actively looking for off-market properties as well. I try to find off-market properties for my clients as best as I can. That's a challenge now because National Association of Realtors put a cap on how we can off-market promote properties. So that's been a challenge for a lot of agents in Austin as well. So finding stuff off-market is a little bit more of a challenge, but obviously you're in the same investor groups. You see the off-market stuff. People are still wholesaling, so that's not a problem.
Yeah, one of my big focuses about 3 years ago, I was like, I just need to start meeting everybody. So I'd go meet all the wholesalers and see all the stuff online. And I found success with basically the new wholesalers. I would back to the value add. I would say, like, look, I'm here to help you add value. I'll come to these meetings with you. And I'm literally going to run this meeting the way I would if I were you. Yeah. And, maybe I'm not going to get the deal, but maybe I'll get the next deal or whatever, or maybe I will get that deal. Yeah. And so that worked really well for me. Yeah.
This business is a business of touches, right? The more people you touch appropriately.
I always say lines in the water.
For sure.
As many as you can. And my new concept is the bait is value. Right. And so you can have a lot of different values. Right. And you just got to, have that many lines and keep them in the water for as long as you can.
Yeah. Yeah, and it helps. I mean, the more eyes you can have on a channel where you're talking about things people want to hear, you're bringing the value to that as well.
Yeah, and you have fun.
Yeah, and you have fun.
So I guess you said you're bringing on agents. Mm-hmm. Are there new things that you're always testing, like that? Maybe for one, like, let me test out bringing on an agent, see how that works. Let me do a vlog and see how that works. I mean, do you think like that or?
Yeah, I think I'm past the testing stage, as far as what my YouTube channel is. I know the direction that it's heading. Mm-hmm. Definitely there'll be stuff I'll consider in the future for sure. Vlogs I think vlogs are something of 2018, 2019. I don't think they're, I know a couple agents that do a vlog style video on YouTube in Dallas. Mm-hmm. Somebody you may want to talk to in the future, Casey McCowan. Mm-hmm. He doesn't have a ton of subscribers, but that style, I think, for him will catch. It's just a matter of time. But yeah, I'm constantly trying to find new ways to get business, right? I'm trying to find new ways to find properties for clients, especially in a climate when there's no inventory. I mean, you look at the market stats, 50% reduction last month in inventory. Yeah. So from the year before, it's kind of nuts. We're still kind of waiting to see what happened for October. Those numbers will come out. So yeah, I'm always looking to find new stuff.
I hear you.
I haven't really done, you mentioned, buying, over fourplexes and buying apartment units. That's something I'm definitely eyeing. It's not something I've actually done a whole lot of and put a lot of time into. So that'd be something I'd like to maybe create a channel, my road to buying
that's cool.
and losing money.
I'm happy to help any way I can. We actually have a 19 unit in Hyde Park that we're selling right now.
Oh, nice.
So if you
how's that work?
How does that?
How did that work?
So it's not under contract. It's available. Okay. It's all 350 square foot kind of efficiency studio type deals. Yeah. Asking 3.1 million. Revenue is like 21,000 a month.
So how did you find that to purchase and how did you make that happen?
Yeah, so we just that's a good question. So we have a wholesale branch of our company. Okay. And this girl named Doreen actually found it. I don't know exactly how she found it, but it's funny because she texted me this phone number. She said, we found these people that want to sell. I started calling the phone number and I had the name already stored in my phone. So it's just like one of those things, lines in the water, right? Yeah. A long time ago, but I also didn't follow up on that, which is another key. Like you gotta follow up. Yeah. So Doreen tracked it down and we put it under contract and Nice. So, and then we've got the other, and we haven't done a ton of these things, but we have a 8-plex in New Braunfels. And then we have
it's a good place to start investing.
Man, I love New Braunfels.
That's a fantastic
I have this
place.
Crazy insight, and it's sometimes they're like, "Am I crazy?" And I'm like, "No, I'm onto this." But we bought this 8-plex for $515,000, and it's pretty nice. And I'm like, "Man, you can't even buy a 4-plex for $500,000 in Austin, and you're what? I don't know, 25 minutes or 35 minutes south." Yeah, and it's like this is a no-brainer. The rents were like $6,500 a month. at $515,000 purchase price.
Not bad.
I mean, I think it's already worth like 7 or 8.
Yeah.
You know? But yeah, I mean, we've had a venture outside of Austin. I grew up in Round Rock, and so my focus is kind of a little bit more north. Mm-hmm. Not even because I grew up there, but because to me, Austin's just like so saturated.
Right.
Obviously, there's deals still there, but I personally think a lot of people are missing what's happening north.
Right. So like when you say happening north, what do you mean happening north?
So I've done a good job. Like I know the mayor and the city council and stay pretty plugged in on like what's happening.
Okay.
And there's some, and you may or may not know about these, but there's have you heard of Kalahari?
Mm-hmm.
So Kalahari, right? It's a massive indoor water park.
Yep. Just opened this week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There are so many people in Austin, agents, real estate professionals that never heard of it. And not that I necessarily knock them, but my opinion is like, I try to look at all of Austin MSA as one market, right? And understanding, can't know everything, but you got to know that.
Yeah.
And there's so many agents that are like, I never heard of it. And I'm like, this is a massive development. There's a convention center there that, in my opinion, people are going to pick that over Austin in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And you can buy houses for $230,000.
Yeah.
So that alone is a massive deal.
Right.
There's a thing called Perfect Game. It's a $1 billion sports complex in Hutto.
Yep.
And so
when's the build time for that? Because I heard that they were on that, but I didn't know when it was going to be built
I don't
out.
know exactly when. But I guess my theory is like the city is very aggressive. Like Round Rock wants businesses to come. I'm sure Austin maybe does, but they're also not making it that easy. And so, you know what I mean? Like, obviously they got Tesla, but just Round Rock cold called Kalahari to come here.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Cold called. I'm like,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I heard the whole story is crazy, but I just see so much potential. And to me, it's all Austin, but I know so many people, friends that are like, I don't go past the wall of 183 or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's like, if you're trying to be a real estate professional in this area and you don't know about these things, I'm not knocking you, but you should.
Yeah.
Because it's important, especially if you're focused on the investment side.
I have a lot of clients that I wouldn't say pushing, but having them keep a careful eye on the Brushy Creek area.
Yeah. Downtown, have you been downtown Round Rock?
Oh yeah.
I mean,
I love my Round Rock donuts.
Dude, there you go. Yeah. I mean, when I was growing up, downtown Round Rock had one bar. Now you've got places with 100 beers on craft and good food. And it's nice. And so if you go look at downtown Round Rock, there's a ton of old rundown houses all over.
Yeah.
And to me,
I was just showing those a week ago.
You were?
Yeah.
And so like, I'm like, this is so obvious that this is going to be a different place. And I think you alluded to this or even said this, like, I think 20, 30, 100 years down the line, I mean, talk about generational wealth. I mean, I'm planning to keep my real estate and give it to my kids.
Yeah.
And so when you have that mindset, it opens up a lot.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. If you can find something over there that doesn't have foundation issues, that's in good condition, rentable, I would buy it and hold on to it as long as possible, because I think you're right. There's a lot of development that's going to happen over there as well.
And you may not know this, you may, but it's, you know, I'm a full disclosure, give out all my tips. Airbnb in Round Rock is amazing. And people are like, Round Rock, but it is. I have multiple Airbnb properties and they're rented all the time.
Really?
Yeah.
Most people, when they try to find Airbnb, they're trying to find in 78704, but they're paying $900K for something.
Yeah. I mean, I have properties that I bought for $260, bring in like $4,000 a month on Airbnb. Bad. I know.
That's not bad at all.
And it's rented all the time. And it's funny because Round Rock has been claiming the sports capital of the world for a long time. I'm like, what are they talking about?
Yeah, but you have a baseball team. It's not even a major league team.
But here's the thing. I guess if you say it enough, it can happen. If you go out to Old Settlers, I don't know about right now with COVID or pandemic.
Yeah.
I mean, you go to these fields and they're playing cricket, soccer, football, baseball, everything. I'm like, damn, maybe this is a sports capital. You know, and so there's a lot of families and people coming for these tournaments. And I had a guy, the first day I listed my Airbnb in Round Rock, from China, leased it for 90 days. I mean, it's just like, people don't always realize how great of a market all of it is.
Right.
And I think he was working in Austin, but it's a half the cost for the Airbnb. My property, maybe he paid $4,000 per month, and Austin he paid $10,000.
Well, I think that's the thing too, is a lot of the people that are moving here now, right, that are looking for properties to buy, that are moving here to go work at big tech firms, they're used to an hour drive. Mm-hmm. So living in Round Rock and having a 45-minute drive to downtown, or, if you think about it, everything is migrating more towards the Domain in that area as well. So if you're in Round Rock, it's really not that far to get there.
I agree. And I could go on and on about it, man. Yeah. Like, Round Rock is an extremely, for 10 years, it's top 10 safest city in the country. Mm-hmm. It's clean. There's jobs. Yeah. There's a lot of good things. It's family friendly.
There's an In-N-Out burger.
There you go, man. I live like 3 streets behind downtown Round Rock. And that was the first property so my wife and I moved 10 times in 4 years.
Yeah.
Buy a house, start looking for the next, buy that, rent this one, do the same thing. And so we did Lakeway, East Austin, Georgetown, Spicewood, Round Rock. And it was a process of building wealth.
Yeah.
And the one I bought in Round Rock was the first time I ever, we paid $379. And for me, that was like a lot, because that's not, in my opinion, a good rental.
Right.
So that was the first house that we bought, but it was our primary home that we'll probably stay at for a long time. So make the wife happy. But it's already gone up in value like a lot. And so
it sounds like you have quite a few homes. How do you, I don't know if this is something you've talked about or something you broach with your clients, but how are you protesting your taxes on those properties? How does that work? Because that's not an easy process anymore.
Yeah. So we also have a property management company. So my wife and I started managing, my mom had like 12 houses, and we started managing those houses and started building it. And so now we've got over 750 single family homes, and we own 30% because we merged this company with some other guys. Mm-hmm. And so we actually, there's it's either 5-Star or Protex. Yeah. We use both of them, and they just fight all of them, and then they keep half the savings.
Right. That's what I use now.
Yeah.
So I'm actually doing a brand deal video with them.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Seems like a great company. I mean, you could go do it yourself if you want to.
Yeah.
I think they maybe make like $200 to $500.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's their company I use. There's Texas ProTax as well. I think that's the biggest thing that I've tried to convey to clients, whether they're buying as a primary home or whether they're buying as an investor, is that it's something you have to diligently do every year, especially if you're an investor, because you don't have the same tax umbrella that you would if you were buying as a primary. Your primary, you can homestead. Right. You can't homestead these other homes. And so those taxes wildly go up.
You're right, man. And it seems like the county appraisers are pretty freaking accurate too, which is...
Well, do you remember why that is, right?
Yeah, they
were buying our proprietary data.
Yeah, I mean, that came out, and it's like, I feel like it's never been talked about again.
Yeah,
maybe it has, but
I know, the Texas or ABOR sued. I think it was CoreLogic for doing that because they had broke our contract. So that happened. Just coincidentally, after the lawsuit, ABOR donated $1 million to Community First Village, the homeless village out there in East Austin. It's a great organization. So I feel like that's where kind of the money went. I hope, I haven't seen where that has gone, but it hasn't been talked about, and they sealed. So this is, why I bring this up is, I just put out a video on my channel today talking about Prop A and B passing and the catastrophe that's going to happen from that next year. Mm-hmm. And this is something I'm trying to pre-warn investors about, is that we froze taxes last year. We didn't raise taxes. So property values have skyrocketed. There's nothing available on the market right now. I mean, if you're looking, whatever you see in the market's 5, 6, 10 offers. I just had a listing I put on the market for 500. We had 7 offers, well over list price. Mm-hmm. So you're seeing that, and then on top of that, so you're going to see once they actually do start to assess, and they're going to find the data, how they're going to find the data, but they're going to find what homes sold for. You're going to see a huge raise in taxes next year, just because in 2021 you're going to see a huge raise in taxes just because 2 years of no property increases. So there's going to be that. So if you're an investor, you got to be prepared for that. Yep. Because 2 years, they're going to try to wildly go over, because obviously we've had a pandemic and we're a little short on change as well.
Sure.
And homeowners probably haven't been paying their, if they are escrowing, they're probably not paying that part of their taxes if they're in forbearance. Mm-hmm. So yeah, they're going to come after us. And on top of that, now we passed Prop A and B, which is a $7.1 billion bond and a $640 million bond. And that's going to minimum on their average, or what they assessed on a $336,000 home, is going to be about $290. And then you add $75 on that for Prop B. So you're gonna have another $350 tax on your property taxes next year. On top of that, this is the city of Austin, right?
So maybe 5%, something.
It's gonna be huge.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's 4%, but they didn't really talk about how much Prop B was gonna add. So it's over 4%. It's close to 5%, and then you're gonna see huge property taxes because we've had 2 years where we didn't raise taxes, or 1 year where we didn't raise taxes.
Good to know, man. I haven't been following it like that.
Yeah. So I would say any of your investors that aren't paying attention to property taxes, if you think about it, now you're going to have to raise your rents. What is your renter going to do?
You can't. I mean, you can try.
Yeah,
at least from my perspective, the rents just haven't been able to keep up with the tax growth and the appreciation. I mean, the rents don't seem to be changing that much.
So I think, investors should be a little careful next as they're purchasing right now. Obviously there's nothing available, right? So really you got to be careful about what you do buy. I mean, I had an investor in over the weekend from California. We, put 3 offers on homes. They missed 2 because they went into multiple offers. Then we had to find one that needs work, and that's what they ended up buying. We kind of gave them like, hey, this is going to be $10,000 worth of work, but you're going to probably pay $30,000 more over list price to buy this one over here. Yeah.
Well, if you ever need any construction work, we got you covered.
Okay, good.
We got a really good crew. What else are you seeing like that? Anything else that's concerning, or kind of macro type trends that you think are important?
Yeah, I think the property tax thing is the biggest issue we have. Obviously, the mobility issue, but I think if you're an investor looking, the place to buy property right now is in the suburbs, further away from town. The reality is a lot of people that are moving here. I mean, I work with both sides of it, so I see what people are trying to buy, and obviously they're trying to rent. But people don't need to be close to downtown because a lot of them are working from home. So if you're looking in a suburb, Round Rock suburb, maybe not as close, but you find something with a good property tax, it's a great opportunity because renters are coming out here in droves too. So, if you look, there's not as many rentals available as there once was either.
Totally.
So
I hear you. Well, good stuff, man. I know you get some showings today, right?
Yeah.
Investor or?
No, this is just a regular buyer.
But you'll make them understand it from an investment perspective.
Yeah, I always look at it from an investment perspective.
Cool. What are ways maybe people can add value for you? Myself included, and then ways people can check out your channel, get a hold of you, stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, if somebody has, if anybody has a property that they're looking to unload, definitely give me a call.
Nice.
You can check out my YouTube channel. It's just my name, Jeremy Knight. If you just toss that in the YouTube handle, it'll bring me up. And all my information's on my YouTube channel.
Cool.
I have a website. You can check out that too. That's on my YouTube channel. But yeah.
Cool. It's a great channel, man. Keep up the good work.
Awesome. Thanks.
I appreciate you coming on, and hope you have a great day and go get some of those deals closed.
Yeah, I might have to stop and get some barbecue on the way home though too.
All right. Where are you going?
I don't know.
Yeah.
You tell me, where's the best barbecue place in Flutie?
Is Round Rock out of the way?
No, it's not out of the way.
Liberty Barbecue, man.
Okay.
Liberty Barbecue. Downtown Round Rock.
Okay, so if you're ever south My favorite place is Valentina's Barbecue.
Oh, dude, I'm all over it.
I love it. Yeah,
the breakfast tacos there are unreal.
Yeah, people, you always say, "Fight me." This is the best place. Fight me. I never say that because you're not going to want to fight me.
Are they had that trailer? Are they moving into that building back now?
No, not as of now. No, I don't know what the reason.
Yeah,
for that
I know.
is.
It's weird.
Yeah,
is that the only place they have?
Yeah.
A little trailer, but it is probably the best. I actually agree with you.
Yeah, I think it's the best in town.
I went to Cooper's in Llano. I don't know if you've been out there.
I love that place. We go hunting out there.
You been to Opie's in Spicewood?
Yeah, it's good.
That's good too.
I think Llano's is better. Though.
I agree.
Or not Llano's, but Cooper's. No.
Yeah, Cooper's is better. Cooper's is good, man. It's everyone has their own taste, but to me it was like a little bit less smoky. Yeah, and it tasted a little cleaner.
And then you just sit in there, that little dining hall they have there. I mean, you get that ambiance. That's the one problem in Austin. Is everybody goes to eat. They're like, oh, it's so good. It sounds so good. Everybody says the food's good, but then you're really buying the ambience, and you're not really buying the food most places, unless it's good barbecue.
That's right, man. Amen to that.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah,
Have a great
thanks.
day.